I, Ms. Jennifer Carlo, Assistant Professor, Department of Clinical Psychology, Yenepoya School of Allied Health Sciences, will be discussing about the invisible child in the digital age, understanding digital orphans. The specific learning objectives here will be to describe the concept of the digital orphan in the context of contemporary parenting, identify behavioral indicators of digital neglect in clinical or observational settings, analyze the contributing factors and outcomes of digital neglect, formulate intervention plans to manage digital orphan. While we understand about digital orphan, these are the very key terms. What we need to know is the phubbing, technoference and the sharenting. When we talk about phubbing, it's nothing but phone snubbing, the act of ignoring someone in the favor of looking at one's smartphone. So normally when we discuss or when we talk to somebody, we know that whenever any notification comes, we are always engrossed with our phones, and this concept is called as phubbing. And when we understand from the context of the parent and the child relationship, we also identify that the child is constantly willing and is constantly looking forward to have an interaction or to develop a relationship or just to have a conversation with the parent, and the parent is generally available or non-available, available in terms of physical while unavailable in terms of mental capacity with the child. So this concept is identified as phubbing, the act of ignoring while somebody is trying to have a conversation with us and while that we are very busy with our phones. Technoference, another concept. It happens when electronic devices, usually cell phones, get in the way of our interactions with other people. So just as mentioned that of phubbing, technoference is another concept wherein normally we are engrossed with the cell phones, we are engrossed with the laptops, we are engrossed with the work generally. And this is normally what happens when a child comes to talk to us and they say, well, I have something to talk to you. And we say, wait, I'm in an emergency conversation, give me some time. Once in a while this is accepted, but when this happens generally or very often, it develops a strain in the relationship between the parent and the child. Another concept, sharenting, that which we again see is what the parents do when they talk or share about the children outside the family circle without the child's knowledge. And very often this is found in WhatsApp status or maybe Facebook, Instagram or any other Snapchat and so like app medias. So these are the three concepts that which generally come when we have to discuss about the digital orphan, that is phubbing, technoference and sharenting. As mentioned here, phubby is a person who is being phubbed. Phubber is a person who is phubbing, that is using the phone. And the technoference is the results of the phubbing, that which results in increased internalizing behavior, increased externalizing behavior and decreased pro-social behavior. And we find that the children are normally in a dark room or in a dark space wherein they're found using phone or technology themselves. While coming to the concept of digital orphan, while the term orphan generally means to say that the child is left all alone without parents or a caregiver, but this is somewhere wherein the parents are available but they are emotionally absent. So digital orphan is a concept when someone who has grown up with access to great deal of technology but they tend to have lack of guidance, and generally these individuals are or these children are living with the parents but without the emotional connection with them. When we understand digital orphan, there are also two more concepts that we need to understand, that is digital exiles and digital heir. Digital exiles are the opposite extreme. They've been raised with minimal technology, that is they do see phone or they do see technology, they do see all that which is happening around them, but they're not given an opportunity to use this technology. And down the line when they are exposed to the technology, they don't know how to use it safely. While the digital heir is someone who has a great understanding of tech and a good balance with their lives between tech and real world. And these individuals are identified as very successful individuals while they grow because they do know how to balance the technology as well as relationships, and this leads to a better work-life balance in future. A digital orphan is defined by two primary deficits. One is skill and another is connection. The competence deficit. A digitally native child who grows up with unlimited technology but without adult guidance, leaving them to navigate the digital world alone and unprotected. The relational deficit, a child who feels emotionally abandoned because parents are physically present but psychologically absorbed in their own devices. A brief history from where did this concept of digital orphan actually begin from is it's coined by Dr. Daniel Miller in the year of 1995, wherein he wrote about the children growing up without internet access. And when we understand down the line, there was technology, but however, we do know the technology, the parents didn't know how to use it. So the children learned it first. And this is another concept wherein meaning of reverses. Concern shifts from the lack of access to lack of guidance. And down right now we see that the parents as well as the children, as little as a toddler, is also seen with the phone and they very well know how to use the phone. Now, the concept of digital orphan does not mean to say that we are not supposed to be giving technology to our children, but how responsibly are we letting them use it? Causes of digital orphan: parental continuous partial attention, that is constant notifications or constant work related mails or maybe messages or maybe work that which is pending, or just shifting or scrolling down the different emails or maybe different medias or even the YouTube for that matter, or different reels, is identified as parental continuous partial attention. That is, the parent is there available physically but mentally or emotionally absent. Another cause of digital orphaning is digital immigrant insecurity. That is, we do see that our parents or our Indian families are moving abroad or any other places, especially for work related concerns. So parents feel that if at all I don't give the technology to my child, what if they lack, or what if they don't be one among the others around them? So parents feel less skilled than their digital native children. Absence of active mediation, that is restrictive mediation instead of active mediation. That is, the parents end up saying no, but they don't tell why or what is the reason to say no. So discussion is normally appreciated or encouraged, and also co-viewing is another concept wherein it is normally advised or it's looked upon to. So restrictive mediation, just by saying no, the child does not know why not to use the phone or to use the technology, while when we say this is the reason why you're not supposed to be using phone, probably it affects your eyes, probably it affects the studies, or maybe even it does impact your physical exercises, then yeah, the child is able to identify and understand why. Generational communication background, that is shift from conversation centric. Earlier we used to look at the face and then have a conversation, but right now the connection centric is that normally likes or maybe just the streaks or the tags or just the comments or just over the phone. So here we don't really have face-to-face communication with the people around us. And this is also another concept wherein, because of the digital orphaning, the children are also learning this concept wherein they don't generally share what is happening with their life with their parents face to face, but rather they look upon probably sharing it over the messages or maybe over the phone. The consequences here are high vulnerability to online harm. That is, when the child does not know how to use the technology well, the child is also at a very risk of cyberbullying, grooming, scams and identity theft. The hidden life syndrome. Absence of open dialogue leads to children conceal online mistakes and distress, fearing punishment rather than support. So the children, when they're using something, or when a very general example wherein a child comes and says, I've seen the phone today, and the response of the parent is, I've told you not to look at the phone, what made you look at it? Or rather simply maybe screaming at the child, I've told you, look at your eyes, you will end up having maybe a spectacles. So, and the child will slowly learn. Even when I open up about use of technology, my parents are only going to reprimand me, or they're going to just question me about what is happening. So how about I just hide about things? And this concept is called as hidden life syndrome. Social and emotional impairments. So constantly and continuously the exposure towards the technology and the absence of parent-child relationship leads to reduced parental attunement, that the child is not aware what the parent is going through, or the parent is not willing to see what is happening with the child. This fosters validation seeking through likes and views, heightening peer pressure sensitivity. So in short, they end up in relationship with their peers and gradual decreased attachment with your parents. Sleep and health disruptions. When there is unguided, intense social media use, it's strongly linked to sleep onset difficulties and poor well-being. Permanent digital footprint risks, that is, without knowing what can lead to or without guidance, children create lasting digital profiles through impulsive posts, unaware of long-term consequences. The common post that which we see currently is that posting pictures with your friends and later saying that I'm not in good terms with that friend. So it leads to a relationship damage as well. Or maybe sharing nude pictures or such conversations, or probably even commenting over anybody, or maybe having relationship issues can also have a digital footprint risk. So here we see an clip from the still face experiment. It was emerged in the year of 1997 onwards. So here what it identifies is that generally we do know that a very little child also does seek emotional connectivity with the parent or the caregiver. So here we see that the child giggles and laughs, and the parent also looks at the child and also reciprocates the same feelings. And because of the experiment here, what happens is that though the child is looking towards the mother is not looking towards the child, or she is having a very still face. And generally what happens when we look at our phones too. So when this still face continues for about like 2 minutes, the child feels very confused. The child is like, just a while ago this mother was playing with me, what happened to her now? And when this continues, the child feels irritated, disturbed, anxious. The child doesn't know what's happening, and this leads to a concept wherein a breakdown and irritation, wherein the child starts screaming, shouting, or even kind of very disturbed, and this leads to emotional disconnection with the mother. And this also leads to withdrawal, wherein the child will feel, okay fine, this person is not even looking at me, why should I even bother to look at her? And the child will continue to be themselves. And also as the experiment continues, the child bites their hand just with a matter how to compose their emotional vulnerability here. So this experiment tries to say that after 2 minutes, when the mother gets back to talking to the child is super happy and is reflecting upon and is also developing that connection with the mother. So we see that still face, that is when the parent is not giving any emotional reactions to the child does not know what to behave. And the child does require constant emotional connection with the parent. So having said this, along with the concept of digital orphan, this is what we normally do with the children. That is, we say, wait, just a minute, I have to respond to this mail. Just a minute, I have to respond to this important call. And this just a minute, when it continues to be prolonging, the child gradually develops a disconnection with the parents or the caregiver, and it also leads to emotional vulnerability, wherein there are chances wherein the child will lead to very high risk situations. So what can we do about it? We can use a timer. When we are conscious about how much of phone or technology we are using, we can always set a timer. Especially we have something called as digital well-being. We can make use of the digital well-being app, and we can look into how much or what is that app that which we are using the highest. So the app sets the timer each time. Maybe you want to use YouTube just for about like 10 minutes. Well, go for it. 10 minutes a day. And when you're consciously using the phone, you very well know how much consciously are you also developing a relationship with the child. The app's restriction. Certain apps we know is not good, or which can impact the child's visibility, or it can also impact the child's connection with you. You can always restrict from, or you can always ban from using such apps. And the activity suggestions, rather than sitting on the couch and just scrolling down, you can always plan the activities with your child, and that develops connection. When the child is really too small, you can probably go on a walk, or maybe running, or maybe gardening. And when the child is slightly older, you can probably even play chess, or maybe any sort of board games, or maybe even watch movie together, if that is okay. Okay, so activity suggestions, that is pre-planned activities, is something that which we can always do. Physical activity games, again, as mentioned, the app provides games with attractive missions, challenges to do more physical activities, that is, go out in the outdoor and reduce your screen time. Well, you may have any other ideas, you're very well free to use that. Another concept wherein that benign parenting versus pathological parenting. What happens here? Once in a while, we know that we can't be with the children all the time. It's technically impossible to be there 24/7. Though we love our children, we are not able to do that. And this leads to benign neglect, because we want our children to be independent down the lane, and they need to know how freedom with responsibility is being established. So intentionally stepping back within the safe framework and not a true neglect encourages independence, resilience, creativity, and problem solving. The child also feels, yes, I can do without my parents too. I'm capable. And that does also develop self-esteem and self-concept within an individual, saying, yes, I am possible. It also creates a clear boundaries. The child can say no whenever required, and values with reduced over supervision. Children learn autonomy, self-regulation, and confidence through experience. Another concept wherein pathological parenting. Here, the parenting behaviors that cause emotional, psychological, or physical harm. The parent is not aware that, yes, my parenting style is actually impacting my child, or it's creating extreme control. I'm not letting this child do anything. Probably the parent is not even aware about it. Or manipulation, gaslighting, guilt tripping. I'm behaving like this because you behave this way. Or things like, I'm not able to love you because you didn't listen to what I said. It leads to true neglect masked as care. Leads to anxiety, depression, poor emotional regulation, and impaired self-control as the child grows up. Also to the failure to meet basic emotions or physical needs. This is how the benign neglect and the pathological parenting looks like. The benign neglect is wherein the parents are there as a shadow, as a support to the child, while the pathological parenting, they are immersed in their own world, not knowing what the child is into. There are different attachment styles, what we see between the relationship between the parent and the child. There is a secure attachment. We all know that it's very much comfortable, and the child, at the same time, when the parent is happy with what's happening. There is avoidant attachment, wherein the child behavior is avoids seeking comfort, wherein suppresses the emotions, wherein the parent is not able to give that. Emotionally distant or dismissive, minimizes the child's emotions. Anxious attachment. The mother is consistently not sure what's happening, or the parent is consistently not sure, inconsistent, unpredictable. Even the child does not know what's happening. The caregiver was okay with me a while ago, but right now the person is behaving totally absurd. What's happening? What did I do? And this leads to anxiety. And the child also clings and exaggerates the emotions, not knowing what's happening. Anxious ambivalent, that is the parent or the caregiver is generally clinging on a little too much with the child, exaggerates the needs, and there is heightened anxiety. The difference between anxious attachment is that constantly there is anxiety happening. When there is anxious ambivalent, there is anxiety. Sometimes, it is not constant. The child behavior is that contradictory or disoriented behaviors, appears fearful towards the caregiver because they don't know how the parent is behaving the next moment. There is organized attachment. There is frightening or confusing, unpredictable, invasive. Besides just being anxious, the child is vulnerable. The parent is very vulnerable, at times very emotionally heightened, at times very emotionally carefree, and the child also feels or appears fearful towards a caregiver, again not knowing what to do. So the secure attachment here is the most wonderful relationship that which we want to build between the parent and the child. Another concept what we can try, or the intervention strategy what we can try right in our houses, 3-step reset. Whenever we enter our home, when we look at our children in the house, we can always put our phones down. We can even encourage our teens, our youth to keep their phones down. That is, no screens during the first hour at home. And later, if it's a real requirement that you need to have your phone in hand, probably you can just mention, I'm here for an important call, or maybe for important conversation. I'll get back immediately after that. And always have an eye contact with the child. No matter how old the child is, maybe just 1 year or even maybe 18 years, you always need to have the eye contact with the child. You need to look at your child before you look at your feed, that is the notifications. Unplug time together, such as maybe hang out, or maybe weekend outing, or maybe just going on a trips. That is advised more often, and again without the phone. So when your child grows up, will they remember the face of your phone or the face of your eyes, or your eyes when they look at you with the eye contact there? The 3M strategy for parents, that is modeling, manage, monitor. We always know, and we definitely know that the children learn from what we do. They don't do what we say. So it's always important that we follow what we want our children to follow. So children learn more from what parents do than what they say. Parents' own technology habits, that do you read books, or do you read journals, or do you study? What do you do? The same thing is expected from the child towards you, and you towards the child. So if at all you want your children to be good in academics, or maybe not use phone often, then probably you can also not use phone much while you're there in their existence. While you manage, establish clear boundaries by creating no tech zones, probably at the dinner table, bedroom, or car, or to promote family interactions and reduce excessive screen exposure, just like how we saw earlier. When you enter into the house for the first hour, no using phone. And monitor. Technology is not bad, definitely not. We all are tech savvy, and we all are into so much of technology world. So we do have to have the active mediation. That is, we need to engage with the children. We need to know what they are watching. We need to co-view with them. We need to discuss content what they are watching, rather than relying solely on restrictive mediation, saying no, you can't watch. Rather, you say, okay, fine, this is a time, this is a day, this is a timer, and we watch this concept for certain time. And you can even discuss what have you watched on. You can also develop a family tech contract, though it appears to be like, we can't have it in our frames, but if at all you feel that you're too much away from your children, you can definitely have this done for you. People before screens, no phones during meals, family nights, or talks or bedtime. Balance time, that is between the technology and the family relationship. Kind and safe online. You can always post things, but know what you are posting, because once you post, or once you publish something, you know that it cannot be taken back. Keep talking. If something online makes anyone uncomfortable or upset, we promise to talk about it without anger or blame. Generally, we know when a birthday comes, our friends post our pictures without our knowledge or without our permission. So if at all you're not happy with it, you can always talk about it. And that is a way how even the other individual will know that it is not acceptable. Journaling is another concept that can be done. That is, to be mindful about what's happening with our technology usage. We can have a complete diary wherein we make a note of logging for about 3 days. What is the app that we use the most, and so like. So the logging points, the total screen time, the phone checks, what is the time that you normally check your phone the highest, the child's reaction while you're busy with your phone. All these are the things journaling can help. An increased family connection and focus can be developed when we know that what we are doing, because that leads from awareness to understanding or accepting, yes, what I'm doing is wrong and this is the way what I want to do. So there is a better understanding of child's needs as well. Phone checking often happens on autopilot. We are not even thinking that, the phone is in my hand and I'm just scrolling down. So when parents begin to notice and log these moments, that is autopilot moments, the habit becomes conscious and creating space to lead the connections over the screen. A verbal breach of action creating connection. That is, we know that yes, there is a requirement for us to use the technology as well, but rather we need to talk to our children as in why am I using this technology or this media or this phone at this point of time. So explain very briefly and tell them this is a reason why. So when we do that, it again increases the family connection and focus. It maintains connection, it builds in trust, because the child has normally always heard you saying no phone. It's not good for you. It's not good for your eyes. It's not good for your studies. It's not good for your academics. And that leads to bad girl, bad boy and those concepts such. But when you're using the technology yourself, when you're using the phone yourself so much, or when you're just busy with the reels, that which is happening, we know that the child is watching. We can also have the device-free zone as mentioned earlier. That is, when you enter the house, keep the phone away. And children don't need fewer screens, they need parents besides them. That is, many times they're even okay you being with the phone. They're okay you being with your office call, but they need to know what you're doing. And that's very important. So we need to explain, we need to connect. So the digital world doesn't turn them into digital orphans. Disconnect from phone and reconnect with the children. As mentioned in the image here, you can see that there is a mindful parent, or whether it is a mindful parent. We always need to lead towards being mindful, FUL parenting, because we know when we are in a system that which requires a gradual attention to multiple things. Maybe we have aging parents at home, we have things in our hand, our responsibilities, career transitions, we have a stress. We also have stress about the upbringing of the children and so many other. The children are not going to understand unless we talk about it. Again, when we are creating or when we want to have the connection with the children, you can always say, yes, this is what is bothering me, into the language what they understand. And that leads to mindful parenting. That yes, I know this is what I'm talking to my child. Yes, I know I'm working with my child right now, so let me keep the other things away. Let me acknowledge, yes, this is happening with me, I'm stressed. But at the moment, my time is to be spent with my child. So towards the end, what I would like to say is that attention is a currency of love. Withdrawing attention for a screen feels like withdrawing love. Maybe we have been using our technology, not knowing how it has been impacting our children, but the repair is possible. Rupture and repair. Healing with face-to-face time. Neuroplasticity, we can always reconnect and heal. Our brain understands, or a brain will be willing to reconnect, and it definitely creates a healthy relationship between you and your child. Empathy for parents, that is, many a times if at all you see that the parents have given the technology to the child, don't shame them, or rather probably let's be empathetic enough to understand what is the reason probably they're doing it so. Maybe you can have a word with them, or you can maybe try to help them understand that digital addiction is a systemic issue and not a moral failing. So yeah, digital orphaning refers to children who have parents physically present but emotionally unavailable due to excessive phone use. There is persistent digital distraction, weakens parent-child attachment and affects children emotional security and communication. The impact varies by age, with children showing distress, school-age children withdrawing, and adolescents becoming very secretive. Research also says that the still face experiment explains why children react strongly to parental inattention. Healthy digital parenting focuses on emotional presence, active guidance, and open conversations rather than strict bans. Small changes such as device-free time, verbal reassurance, and shared screen use can significantly improve parent-child relationships. So having said this, I would like to say that digital orphan is what we create. It's not what our children deserve to have. So let's have a very mindful FUL, parent-child relationship with our children, and let's also benefit our society by giving the better fruits of what we have created. Technology is definitely not bad, but the way how we use technology, let's be mindful about it. And also let's create a very empathetic connection with our children so as to have a better connection with them, and also have to have a better future with our children. So thank you.